This is Believing Buckeyes. I'm Bryant with All-American cornerback Chimdi Chekwa. We got some football to discuss, man. We had to play 4 quarters again, man. A home game against the Nebraska Cornhuskers when we come on top 21-17. But Chim, what's your quick thoughts on the game? How you doing today? Are you feeling the it's Halloween week, man? You feeling the
Yeah.
Halloween? You ready to eat some candy? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, there's no time for distractions, man. I'm not, I'm not focused on Halloween, none of that. It's time to play Penn State. You know my take on Penn State. I've been consistent.
Yeah.
Penn State is a second-tier Big Ten team. They're a team that's going to be rolling through the season, all the way over to the point when they play a top-tier Big Ten team. And this is who they are year after year. Now it feels weird saying it now the week of, right? When I know this is a big game, they're a top
That's a
five
big game.
team this year.
Right.
I do want to stay humble, right? Especially after the last 2 games. But let's recap the last game. So
Yeah. It's a lot to talk about, right? I mean, Ohio State won 21-17, and this is a
yeah,
game where, to be frank, Nebraska is a good team. We know Matt Rule's a good college coach. He has a talented young quarterback, and his team is 5-2. They've been playing pretty solid all season. The 2 losses has, been to some pretty good teams. But their last game, I think they got blew out by Indiana. I want to say the score was like 52-7 or 56-7. So us being Buckeye fans thought, yeah, Ohio State would do the same. We could definitely, if they won 56-7, we should win 64-7, right? And that was not the case Saturday afternoon. The Cornhuskers came to play. I think we kind of got a mad, a pissed off Nebraska team, and they had a lot to show and prove in the horseshoe on Saturday.
yeah, they did. And after that Oregon game, I think the team was humbled, but mostly humbled defensively. Right, it wasn't. The offense played pretty good against Oregon, and if you're on that offense, you're thinking, outside of a huge loss to Simmons, you're like, we've been pretty good all year. They weren't that good versus Nebraska, but I do want to start off defensively and really focus on what was different in the Nebraska game. There was clearly a point to get more pressure on the quarterback, to get to the quarterback more, to try to affect them. We saw a number of blitzes that we didn't typically see in the prior games, and I thought that was effective overall. Now there's stuff to clean up, but I thought that approach to be more attacking on defense, to play a little bit more man, to play a little bit more press on the edges, outside of some pass interferences that don't need to happen.
Yeah.
I think overall, it was a solid showing. There is some improvement that needs. They do need some improvement. I thought the coverage could have been a little bit better, but I thought the guys competed. I thought they competed as defensive as DBs. I thought they were able to get to the quarterback a lot more than they have in the past. And I think this approach is the approach that we should continue to carry forward, understanding that the offense is going to make some plays. Nebraska, like you mentioned, Nebraska is a solid football team.
Yeah.
I know the Indiana game is really an anomaly for them this season.
Yeah.
I know it just happened, but that's one that Nebraska, when they went back and watched the film the next day, they flushed that one down the toilet and said, "This is not who we are. We're going to be better." So I know that set the bar high for Ohio State, and there was a lot of expectation that this should be a game that was similar to what we saw versus Indiana. But defensively, held them to 17 points. Big stop in a sudden change situation after a turnover.
Mm-hmm.
Big stop at the end of the game to seal the victory. That's what I like to see from a defense. And I still have the expectation that they're going to make some improvements there.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, I think they answered a lot of questions that we had, and I think that's what you want to see, right? I think we talk about all the time, like last year, just kind of last season's under Coach Day, it just felt like when there was an issue, it kind of took too long for it to get corrected. And from one game, obviously we had a bye week, so one game to the next, we dial up the pressures. Like you say, some things could have been better. I think that's a little bit of a scheme wise. If we're going to send so many, maybe have a D tackle play a little bit softer, because in the first half, that's when they kind of basically beat us. It's really just the quarterback stepping up in the pocket. We blitz. Yeah. Nebraska do a great job at picking it up. Now the quarterback is free to run. And then the second half is really, like you say, we got some PIs, led to some points. they put together one drive and scored a touchdown off it, and they did a good job there. They hit on a good run. I watched the game twice. I actually went to the game this weekend. It was homecoming. I got out there. I watched the game. Got to the stands. Got to watch the game, and defensively, I think they played well. And obviously, like you say, they was come up big and win the game. But offensively, it just really wasn't good enough. I think this stat here is really going to really basically tell the story of the game. On third down, Ohio State was 1 for 10 on third down. The only third down we converted it wasn't even a lined up QB. It was like a surprise QB sneak that we got off with Will Howard. We had some issues offensively. Third down, we did not execute at the left tackle position. Obviously, like you stated, Josh Simmons injured. It's not his nose. Is he out for the season? We asked Zim Malowski to kind of step in that role. And to be frank, he had to learn in the field of fire when it came to how to kind of go out there and operate in Big Ten ball, I guess, this Saturday.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. He just didn't get it done, right? And also he got injured too, so there's gonna be some shuffling there. Hopefully he's all right. I just watching it early on, I saw him get beat a few times. My expectations very similar to what Ryan Day expected. I thought he was gonna improve because we watched him against Oregon. He held his own. I thought he maybe had some jitters going into his first start. Was a little bit, I don't know, too enthusiastic early on. I want, from your perspective though, just watching him play, because one of the concerns is we knew that was he was going to be the starter, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't feel like there was a ton of chips or support for him, and I think they felt like he can hold up at least well enough for us to run that offense, and it didn't seem like that was the case. What did you see from him and the offensive line in general?
Mm-hmm. Well, first off, I'll just say Nebraska did a good job. They got some guys that, I'll be honest, that they're going to play on Sundays. You start talking about the defensive tackles, 2 good players there. The guys on the outside was smaller guys, and it's pretty active. Watching Zen against them, I went to the game, watched it live, and about the second quarter, I started getting text messages like, "Hey man, what's going on with the offensive line?" And I'm like, it don't seem like we're having the best day, but I'm in the stands now, like so if I'm not looking at them, like I'm kind of missing really what's going on. But I watched it the whole game again today, and I would say this: watching Zen, who's a 4-year player at Ohio State, he definitely has the ability to do the job. Right now, obviously, we don't know what the injury situation is. He couldn't really put much weight on, I believe it was his left leg, foot, whatever, when he was coming off the field. So hopefully he's okay. Obviously, with Ohio State, we're probably not going to know the situation till really close to game time on know if he's able to go or not. Yeah. But watching him, he was in position for most of those blocks. I would say that he has the ability to make those blocks. But watching him, essentially what he did was he was just kind of like, he was just like a little bit too aggressive. He's a bigger guy. He's a strong guy, right? And I'm sure, previously, what I'm saying, I say previously when he was playing a lot was high school, right? Last time he really was on the field for an entire game, he probably could go out there and really overpower guys. Nebraska was doing a great job at making him move around a little bit, right? So he gets a set. He gets out his stance well. He's getting set. And he kind of sets too far. He kind of sets too far back. So when a guy gets a move inside, he's kind of out of position. Now, if an offensive tackle is really, if you say, all right, this guy can't play, he's getting ran around. Like, if you look at RDNs versus Nebraska's offensive tackles, on one-on-one situations, we're running around them, like, when they really want to get to the quarterback. And they did a lot of that during the game. Yeah. Zen didn't get ran around. He just kind of did a little bit too much every time. So if his pass set, he getting too far set. He got to stance too fast, and he gets beats inside. If he got a guy inside that he got 1-on-1, he's going too far inside until the guy gets the edge and get up the field. One of the third down situations, he had a reach block on the DN. He gets off the ball too fast, and the guy comes underneath him and makes the play. So it's like, it's just little things like that just kind of kept happening to him throughout the game. Obviously, like I said, Nebraska guys did have some ability. But, when you see stuff like that happening, it's like I said, if it's the other way around, if he's too slow and like getting push back, it's like, man, I don't know if he could get the job done. But when I see that, it's like, man, he could do it. He just kind of gotta. We kind of determine off the line. You got to step to contact. Basically, meaning like you're just not going to just fire off and just hit a guy and then just kind of going to fly the direction you want. Like sometimes you just kind of got to get set, get to contact with the guy, and then work with yourself from there. He just needs to work on that. Step into contact with these guys, and then get into the battle and winning the play from there. So like I said, hopefully he's okay. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it seems like some detailed things that need to be cleaned up, and there's some stuff on defense as well that I want to hit on. But real quick, since we're talking about the offensive line, what do you think? Say he can't go, or they decide that based on his last performance, they want to shuffle. Who do you think ends up at the left tackle position, and then based on who ends up at the left tackle position, who you think is the five guys they go with?
Well, I'm going to just kind of go with what they did in the game. So in the game, he got injured, right? They took Diamond Jackson. They put him at left tackle. They put Austin Sherfield, who was kind of been rotating at that right guard position with Tegra. They put him at left guard, and they played with that 5 up front. So I'm going to assume that's the plan. Obviously, once you kind of get behind Malowski, it's a lot of young guys from there. And, essentially guys, like I say, they're just young when it comes down to it. We haven't seen them play much. We just don't really know what we got. But essentially, if we do have to go in that position where you got to take your guard and put them at tackle, going up against the Penn State, who's going to have a dynamic offensive line, what you better do is get you a tight end out there, get you a fullback, right? And you do a much better job at running the ball and try to keep yourself out of those the known passing situations was when things kind of really always get hectic when it comes to a good defensive line. So
yeah, and I think we had a little bit more of that in this game. Obviously you mentioned the third down stat, but I think we lost a little bit more on first and second down, not being able to effectively run the ball this game, as well as we have before. For real. I think that kind of impacted. You got more third and long situations. And now you got this guy on the island, and those Nebraska defensive linemen went to work. But one thing you mentioned, and really just focusing on the fact that we don't know who's going to be on exactly who's going to be at left tackle and how they're going to shuffle. However, no matter who's there, they need to work on it this week, right? They need to go. If they have an individual, they need to add another 5 minutes, maybe another 10 minutes to that individual period this week. And they just need to work. They just need to rep it, man. I think defensively, it just seems like there's some lack of detail, right? And they collectively they fixed the scheme issues, I think, for the most part, just a different philosophy, right? But you identify something that I didn't see initially. And to me, individual period or practice or time for the position coach can actually coach the guys up and fix these issues are important. But what did you notice during the game defense?
This is a weird one, man, because it's like if you've seen it, you've seen it. If you did, you didn't. But now, if you had a chance, go back and look at it. But Sonny Styles has several opportunities in the game, and I counted, I believe, 4. 5th was a little bit iffy. But there's times that he was either under pressure or due to how the play unfolded offensively for Nebraska, he became a part of the pressure. And he ran all the way up to Dylan Raiola. And it's like, how they say Dylan Raiola is like a fake Mahomes, like a Mahomes. It's like he thought he was playing against like Patrick Mahomes and he was not allowed to touch the quarterback. Like he runs all the way there instead of taking those last 2 steps and lunging into him. He put up, and it's like it's the weirdest thing to see, but it's like it just happened. I mean, like I said, it just happened several times in the game, and I know you had a chance to catch it, but like he's just, instead of him going down and really affecting the quarterback with a big hit, he's taking the last 2 steps off, and it's just tough. It's a head scratch.
Yeah, it almost feels like he sees Dylan Raiola starting to wind up and doesn't want to get a roughing. But honestly, and I mean, Sonny Styles has been playing football for a while, and he's been at Ohio State. Even if he played safety last year, but he blitzed at safety as well. So he should know how to finish a blitz, right? But I don't know what happened the week before or whatever, but he should understand, when he could go hit the quarterback and when he can't. And it just seems like those little detailed things, which honestly, man, I don't know what else to point to but coaching and having a time set aside to teach a player, even in season. Like in season, some of these details, if there's something that is happening one week, you fix it in practice. And it doesn't have to happen to every player. If Eben Olsen is getting the pass interference he's holding, we're gonna work on playing the ball in the air that week, and every player is gonna work on it. The scout team guy, the red shirt corner, everybody, we're all gonna work on this. This, and it's not going to be an issue for nobody the next game. And I don't know if that's what they're doing or not, but that's what they need to do, because I think there's some detailed things that we see on defense and offensively that are really things that just need to be repped and solved for in the game.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, we start talking about Zen and some of the plays. Like I said, he was there for it. It's literally like, it's just small things. Like, bro, you're here. If you know to step this way or step at this angle and place here and don't overdo it, it's a successful block. But like you say, just kind of, that's the season. And obviously, against the Nebraska, we was able to kind of overcome those situations. And obviously, and I think the defense, all in all, played pretty well, and they was able to save that game and win it for us and get the stops when needed. But against Penn State, the number 3 team in the nation that's undefeated, you cannot have those mistakes, because if you go 1 for 10, I think you got to step 1 for 10 on third down. We ran 47 plays on offense, and that's just not enough plays. But you go 1 for 10, you're not building on drives. If you do that against Penn State, at Penn State next weekend, don't run the ball, don't execute on third down. We're going to be, coming here with another tough conversation, trying to ask ourselves, do Ohio State have the chance to play themselves into the playoffs with 2 losses? So we can't. It has to be corrected right
yeah,
now.
So if you look on social media, Ohio State fans are calling for Ryan Day's job again, right? Again after a win. After a win. Now, I will say, on one side, there is there's a need to continue to solve for some of these detailed things on both offense and defense, and that does point to coaching, right? So coaches need to figure it out. On the other hand, 21-17 win against Nebraska. I know everybody expected more, but it's a win. It's a Big Ten win, and the reality is, in the grind of a season, you're not always going to play your best game. It's just the reality. That's just what it is. Now, you may say, well, they didn't play their best game 2 games in a row. Well, in the grind of a season, you may not play your best game twice. That's just the reality of it. And I think there was also some element of looking forward to the big game versus a Penn State. Now, I'm on record on this podcast.
Well, hold on, real quick before you dive into this, because this was a big topic, and it was basically, I'm not going to lie, I had to see this video maybe 4 or 5 times on Twitter today. And it's a good conversation, because I'll be honest, in the stands, I sat next to my guy, Torian Washington. I know you know Torian Washington, wide receiver out of the Detroit area for Ohio State. Me, myself, Aaron Gant, your DB buddy. We all went to the game. Yeah, right. The Detroit guys came down. Our Michigan guy, our Michigan Buckeye guys came down to the game. But I had to ask myself this, and then on social media, this was Zach Bourne on the podcast discussing this as well, and he was just stating, and it made a lot of sense. Like, Coach Day, the culture of the team, right, is not getting, wherever Coach Day is trying to fire up this bunch, is not getting to the whole team. Maybe it get to one side of the ball, maybe it get to one player, but when you look at the whole sideline and the team, you're not seeing a very energized team. Coach Day is a lot of times on the sideline he's the only person that's bringing fire, it seems like, a lot of time. And obviously we had the targeting call against Arvell Reese, and Coach Day blows up, right? And they throw another flag. We thought it was gonna be a 30-yard penalty, but they graciously gave us a sideline warning after he blew up on the field. But it's like, why are we not playing like this the whole game, right? Why is Coach Day the only person you see on the sideline with some life and some energy? You don't see, let alone forget the guys that's on the field, but your guys that's not in the game. Like, why are they not ragging towels? Like I said, I'm on the side, I'm right by the stands, right?
Yeah.
You know, why these guys are not hyping up the crowd. It's only the guys on the field doing motions to try to get the crowd into it. And it's just like a whole atmosphere. To me, like Zach Bourne said, like it has to be picked up, man, especially in these home games and certain these situations. It didn't get turned like to the fourth quarter when things got critical, things kind of picked up. Yeah. But to then, it was just like a flat 100,000 people in the stands kind of watching the games. And I think that's a little bit of the argument people are saying, or maybe why Coach Day is not the guy. It's just like it feels like sometimes his message that he's saying to us, what he's portraying, is not coming out of his team. Yeah. I guess, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you know, I think some of it comes from the players and how they feel, how good they think they are, if that makes sense. Like, because I don't expect a limited amount of fire and stuff against a top 10. Like, if it was a top 10 matchup, I bet the guys would be fired up, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like they almost came into this Nebraska game just how the fans came into the game. You can do it as a fan. You can say Indiana blew them out, so we should blow them out too. That's okay for the fans to say, right?
Yeah.
Because the fan has no actual real impact on the game. As a player, you treat this like a Big Ten matchup, and you find a reason to be fired up. You find a reason to be, you know, to be hyped up. And if things ain't going away, even if you expect to blow the team out, that really should get you upset. That really should get you fired up. But I think there's a little bit of, you know, listening too much to what people say you are. And I also, honestly, I think it's on the coaches to make sure they get prepared for that game. It's on the coaches to make sure that the guys who probably aren't getting a lot of snaps are standing on benches and twirling towels to get the fans involved. That's what we did, right? Yeah, we registered. Yeah. We all had towels in our hand. We got everybody up on third down. We got everybody hyped up. But somebody told us to do that. I don't even know why I did it. I didn't show up. Right? I didn't show up as a towel twirler, right? Yeah, I wanted to be on the field. But that was the president.
That was your part.
That's what was said. That's what the guys who are a year older than me that weren't playing that much were doing. If they can do it, me as a redshirt guy, I have to do it. Otherwise, they're going to be looking at me crazy. And that's just what it was. I think that is part of setting that culture and expectation that we all are in this together. And after we lost the game, honestly, and everybody, because we didn't have the social media like that back then, but everybody would talk about, oh, this team isn't good. They're not, you know, we lost to Illinois or Purdue or whatever. And that's when it was, okay, it's just us in here, right? It's just about us in here. And that's when we really locked in and would be fired up and get everybody ready to play. So honestly, I don't know. I honestly don't know, but there's something to it. I wasn't at the game, so I can't speak to it, but there's something there for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure, man. It's a little weird one, I guess, to keep your eye on. But look, man, we getting back to Penn State. And I see you, I don't know if Penn State would be a whiteout, but that's probably. But I see you kind of got the week going. You threw a little white on, the headphones and everything. But I know, I mean, if Penn State fans are listening, I mean, I know they are ready to get at you on Twitter due to your mindset towards their towards their program.
Yeah.
About them being, in that second tier spot. But obviously right now they're ranked higher than us, right? They're number 3 in the nation. They're undefeated, having a good season. What's your quick thoughts on the Nittany Lions and us traveling out to, I don't know, where was that? Where it's called in Pennsylvania to play a hungry Penn State team that's ready to take those steps forward to that top tier level.
Yeah, nothing has changed. Penn State is a tier 2 program. They're a tier 2 college football program. They're a tier 2 Big Ten program. At the end of the day, they are a team who is going to do what they're doing this year. They're going to beat all the teams they're expected to beat, and they're going to lose to the teams that they're not expected to beat. That's who they are. That's who they've been. I don't expect anything different from them. Now, I say that, and it sounds like I'm talking negative about them, but I'm really not. What I've always said is they should accept being a tier 2 team, because what a tier 2 team can do every 3 or 4 years, right? The tier 1 team has a bad game. They get a good schedule where they don't have to play all the good teams. The team has a bad game. They go into Penn State, they get the win, and now they look like a tier 1 team for that year. But they're not. And I don't expect anything different this year. It really comes down to, does Ohio State play their best ball? Do they play near their best ball? If they do, Penn State is just not able to keep up with them. If they play like they did against Nebraska, if they play defense like they did against Oregon, they'll lose. And that's the reality of the situation. But there's no reason why they should do either, because they've already learned the Oregon lesson, and they've already learned the Nebraska lesson. Going into a game where they know that this is a team in a top 5 matchup, it has all the hype. You don't need the guys twirling towels. Everybody should already be fired up for this game. However, they're going to have to be who they've been all season when they've had success. They have to be able to run the football on offense. And on defense, they have to affect the quarterback, depending on which quarterback plays. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, so just real quick, Drew Ayler, who's been their starting quarterback all season, did not play the second half against Wisconsin, where they won 28-3 night game in Wisconsin, which was a big game. Wisconsin, to be honest, played well. Just Penn State had more. Bo Prabula finished that game, who played well. He's also a dual threat quarterback. He could throw the ball. He could also run the ball. 3 mans up front. They got good running backs, but they have a tight end and Tyler Warren, who's like really their Mr. Everything. He's taking wild. He's out wide at wide receiver. He's in the tight end position. He's taking snaps at quarterback. He does everything for them. Really explosive player, and they're led on their defense by Abdul Carter, another great Penn State defensive end who already has 4.5 sacks on the season. And Penn State now, they run a lot of exotic blitzes and stunts up front. So once again, Ohio State would have to be ready, play well, run the ball, and be able to affect the quarterback, and we would definitely come out on top against the Nittany Lions. Easy to say on this podcast, the Buckeyes got to go out and do it.
Yeah, they got to go out and do it. One thing to look for is when they got Julian Fleming at receiver, but across the board at receiver, they don't have the deep threat. They just don't have the explosive receiver. Now, I say that in order for Penn State to win this game, they got to do the same thing I said Oregon had to do. They got to create some explosive plays in the pass game. They're going to have to do it. They're going to try to do it. We got to hold up, but hold up in a way that still attacks the quarterback, not sit back and try to stop the explosive plays in that way. I think we should be aggressive, go after the quarterback, trust the defensive backs to be able to cover guys who, just aren't explosive on the edges. And they'll make plays with that tight end. They'll make plays in the running game. But overall, I just don't think they have enough to be able, to get the explosives and move the ball in a way that has put up a decent amount of points. I'm actually more afraid of the backup quarterback than I am of the starter. Maybe I'm tripping, but
no. Did you watch Drew Ayler against us last year? Last year he had a pretty bad performance against Ohio. That might have been his worst game ever. He couldn't complete a ball downfield to save his life. So
and he doesn't push the ball downfield. The backup can run the ball. We've had trouble with running quarterbacks almost all year, honestly. So yeah, but we'll see who ends up playing. Penn State again, formidable opponent. Gonna be a tough game. Gonna be a tough matchup. But they are a second-tier program, and I expect. I'm gonna be humble. I'm gonna be humble all the way from this point until the game starts.
Yeah, I hear you there, man. But that's our show for the day. We'll try to catch you guys this weekend. Obviously, it's the Nittany Lions, man. It's a big game, man. Number 3, number 4 in the nation going at each other here, and obviously our Buckeyes need a win at this point of the season. So
they need a win if you're, looking to bet on the game or any other games. Man. Oh yeah. Don't forget our sponsors, Bet Online. Bet Online is your number 1 source for all things sports. All right, and it's an online casino. So if you want to, after the game, want to get on the online casino, play some slots game. 150 slot games. I stay away from the slots myself, but I'm gonna stay away from betting on Ohio State games. But everything else for me is open to bet. So I'm gonna take a look at it and see See what spreads I can exploit this week.
I got you. That's our show. We like to end it always for the OH.
Ayo.
We get back to you guys here soon. Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.